Hey guys, what's up? We are coming to you from Mexico. We're here in Mexico City. We decided to come to Mexico City for a month vanless, so that's a little bit different. But we actually drove here, crossed the border, did the whole thing, and we're surprised at how easy it was after this is our third border crossing into Mexico.
Growing up, there was a bunch of kids in my family with a big old van, and we would pack the van up, you know, pack an ice chest full of sandwiches and snacks and all kinds of stuff. And we would do huge family road trips all across the United States. And not one time did we ever go into Mexico. Even though from where we lived in Austin, Mexico, the border was less than 4 hours away, right?
And Mexico City, like central Mexico, is closer than like Washington State.
Yeah, totally. I remember the first time we drove into Mexico, it felt, admittedly, it did feel intimidating, you know? A week ago, driving the exact same border, we were like, this is literally cake. This was nothing. I feel like I'm just driving to South Texas.
But the first time, we didn't have the whole process laid out for us.
That's
because
so true.
It is a different process crossing the border than it is going into Canada or obviously driving within the States.
Or flying into Mexico.
Or flying into Mexico, exactly.
So without further ado, here is the guide for dumb gringos of how to travel Mexico. Regions of Mexico, pretty much the equivalent of understanding, you know, let's say with the United States, you've got the Pacific Northwest, the Midwest, the Northeast, the South, you know, etc. You've kind of got these different areas that have different vibes. Mexico obviously is the exact same way. We've categorized Mexico into four very, very general regions. That's going to be North Mexico, Central Mexico, South Mexico, and the Yucatan. We have not traveled everywhere in Mexico. We have traveled quite a bit in Mexico. As I was like looking at a map, I was like, damn, we've hit a lot. However, a couple of big blind spots. We've never been to Baja somehow.
Just insane.
We've been to Tijuana, but we never explored Baja. And we've never been to Guadalajara.
Anything that's not south of Texas, we've not been.
That's right. Northern Mexico is an area that is very under-visited. The first highlight that we're going to really recommend in North Mexico that you do not miss, and is in my opinion the most underrated place to visit in Mexico, full stop, not one of the most, the most, is San Luis Potosí.
Specifically the Huasteca region for like the nature, the rivers, the mountains that are in that region. And it is truly, I mean, Mexico is freaking gorgeous, but Huasteca maybe like takes the cake.
It's within, at the most, a 2-day drive, but really you can drive there within a day from the border of Texas. It's gorgeous. You've got cenotes, you've got 350-foot waterfalls, you've got the most beautiful rivers that I've ever seen in my life.
Oh my goodness, the bluest water and we've seen some blue water, but this is literally the bluest water.
Yeah, it's true.
And honestly, it was like our first stop on our way to Argentina. And it's still one of my highlights, which is crazy.
It's a little bit on the south side of northern Mexico. I mean, again, probably most of the places that we haven't yet visited would be considered northern Mexico. So this is probably the least visited for us area of these regions. But if you're gonna pick one spot in northern Mexico to go to, Huasteca and San Luis Potosí, nothing else like it. Where do you even start with Central Mexico?
Oh my God. It's kind of like the heart of Mexico. Obviously Mexico City is here.
Central Mexico is very European, honestly. Both in the design of the cities. All the cities are very walkable, very international. I mean, we're in Mexico City right now and you could spend 10 freaking years exploring this city. There's no other city in the world like this city. But on top of that, you've got cities like one of our personal favorites, Querétaro, that we've spent a ton of time in. You've got Michoacán. It is just so accessible. And another great thing about it, you know, if you're trying to road trip in and just spend some time, it's all really close. Central Mexico, when it comes to accessibility, ease of travel, safety, I mean, it's hard to beat.
If you want some good city life, Central Mexico is the place.
If, however, you're not really one of them city slickers, you are going to be at home in South Mexico. The highlights of South Mexico are definitely going to be Oaxaca and Chiapas. That is where the cultural centers go back thousands and thousands and thousands of years. I'm talking about before the Aztecs were even around, before the Maya were even around.
There's more indigenous languages spoken in Oaxaca and Chiapas, like more often than Spanish. It is much less accessible for non-Mexicans. It's harder to drive in, so the roads are really windy. But the thing is, if you're willing to make the trek, it is fully worth it.
Oh my God, you've got mountain towns like San Cristobal in Chiapas, where the locals are wearing alpaca furs. It's like you expect in the Andes in Peru. It's like it's cold, old culture where you mix the Catholic traditions with indigenous traditions. You've got some of the best food in the world, especially in Oaxaca. When it comes to old preserved tradition, I don't know if I've ever been somewhere that does it as well as Chiapas and Oaxaca.
The last region that we're going to talk about here is the Yucatan Peninsula, which I would say is definitely the most traveled by gringos region.
There are some unique things about Yucatan you can't get anywhere else.
A lot of ruins and cenotes.
Exactly. You've got that. I mean, mostly those two right there. You've got more Mayan ruins in the Yucatan than anywhere else. And then the other totally unique thing you have there is tens of thousands of cenotes. You get a little bit of this in South Mexico. You get just a touch of this in places like San Luis Potosí. But in the Yucatan, you walk 100 yards and you're in another cenote. You'll have something that might only be like 50 feet across, a swimming hole that's an underground swimming hole, but it might be, 1,000 feet deep, connecting to a cave network that goes all, it's just totally unique.
And the ecosystems within the cenotes are totally cut off from the rest of the ecosystem.
Yeah.
So it's very interesting.
The Yucatan offers some things that you can't find anywhere else. However, it is definitely the most expensive touristy area, and with that you also get a couple of other downsides, such as places like Tulum. Our experience was the relationship between travelers and locals isn't quite as healthy,
and we experienced a lot of disrespectful gringos down in the Yucatan.
That's right. Specifically in the state of Quintana Roo, which is where you have Cancun, Playa del Carmen, and Tulum. So I mean, that state must have more tourists than the rest of Mexico combined. Right? Especially in a place like that. Not necessarily our most recommended part of Mexico, but again, there are some things about Yucatan you can't find anywhere else. Before we go on, we're going to take a quick ad break here to thank the sponsor of this video, Ana Luisa.
Thank you so much to Ana Luisa for sponsoring today's video. Truly, Ana Luisa is one of our favorite sponsors. As you can see, they make gorgeous jewelry, but that is only one of the reasons we love Ana Luisa. Their jewelry is sustainably made. They use all recycled gold and sterling silver and only source their diamonds from farms to avoid unethical mining practices. They also fully offset their carbon footprint. So when you get an Ana Luisa shipment in the mail, you can rest assured knowing that the waste created from your order was offset by them already. And they produce all of their items in small batches to make sure that they don't create too much waste. Plus, that means they have new items on their website all the time. So I love going and checking out what they have new. Ana Luisa believes in keeping fine jewelry accessible, so their pieces start at just $39, but it's November, which means they have amazing Black Friday sales going on right now. You can get up to 60% off your favorite pieces this month. I've been loving trying out different combos in all of their necklaces and stacking multiple chains. Even Nick is getting into it, as you can see. He's been loving their super robust chain collection and spicing up the fits with some jewelry. Ana Luisa makes a great gift choice. I gifted some pieces to my friends and family last year and plan to again this season. They have a really beautiful holiday gift guide on their website, so make sure you check that out. My favorite gift idea right now are these gorgeous zodiac necklaces. They've just started selling. I don't have one yet, but I'm definitely going to get one soon. Click our link in the description box below to check out the latest gorgeous pieces Ana Luisa has available now.
Now that you have a little bit of an overview of the different regions in Mexico, maybe you're starting to think to yourself, South Mexico sounded kind of nice. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Maybe I want to pop down to Chiapas. We're going to give you a couple tips and tricks on the borders. Mexico borders are fairly well set up for American travelers. There's tons of Americans coming in through the borders every single day. Flying into Mexico and driving into Mexico with the borders are different experiences, and importantly, there are different considerations that you have to take into account.
Flying, especially right now in 2021, you got to be very COVID conscious, as you would hope. So definitely want to have your vaccine card with you, a negative test in the last 72 hours. One thing to know also is when you fly back to the US, in Mexico, just to enter the airport, you have to have a negative COVID test. So driving,
right. little bit more complicated.
When it comes to COVID, surprisingly way easier.
Way easier.
We didn't realize this. We like tried to show our vaccine cards at the border and they didn't care.
Like, get that out of here.
Yeah.
Personal visas coming from the United States, incredibly easy. You don't have to apply beforehand. You aren't gonna get denied. It's basically a check-in card. Takes 5 minutes,
Yeah.
costs about $30 a person.
When you're bringing a vehicle to Mexico, like we said, it's set up for American vehicles, so it's pretty streamlined, but it is a process. You're gonna have to get what's called a TIP, a temporary import permit.
Before you enter the application process for your TIP, you'll save yourself a little headache if you make copies of everything beforehand. And this is a smart move when it comes to just going to Mexico in general. If you don't make copies, you're gonna be paying money to make copies at the border. Not too much money, but you'll save yourself a little hassle.
Yeah.
So we try to make like 3 copies of our passports, of our driver's license, of our Mexico car insurance, of our registration for our car, of our title for our car. So any kind of documents that you would need, go ahead and make copies of them.
The main documents that they need are really just your registration, and then they're gonna basically put the TIP under one driver. And you'll need the passport of that driver, the driver's license.
In order to avoid Americans like us just disappearing in this amazing country and never leaving again, you have to put down a $450 deposit upon entering. Now this will be refunded to you when you check out, basically within 6 months. So the TIP, the temporary import permit, lasts for 6 months, up to 6 months. When you come in, you are going to need to put 450 American dollars as a deposit, obviously, which is a lot of money. Now, they let you do this on a card, no problem. And it will just be automatically refunded to whatever card you use, or if you use cash, they'll just be giving that back to you upon leaving. But this is why it's extremely important. Not only do you have to check in with your TIP, you must check out with your TIP.
Now let's talk about where you do all this TIP business.
Right.
Because this was a huge miss for us
Yes.
the first time we came in.
The first time we ever entered,
Yeah.
we literally got our passports checked, we got through security, and if we were entering Canada, say, you're in, no problem. So we're like, hey, I guess we're in, hell yeah. Took right off, drove an hour into Mexico, get stopped by a cop at a checkpoint, and he's like, where's your TIP?
Yeah.
What's a TIP? So he
And
sends
back
us,
we go for an
back to the border.
hour-long drive.
That's right.
Because you would think, at least what we assumed was that everything was going to be at the actual border crossing. But no, it's
Not the
not.
case.
You have to drive about 5 to 10 minutes away to another office where you do all of the personal visa, TIP stuff, and that's exactly where you go and check out again. What it is called is CITEV. CIITEV. And
Two eyes?
Weird, right? No, some of the signs don't have 2 eyes, but on Google...
I've never seen 2 eyes.
Well, the official website has 2 eyes.
Okay, CITEV is what it's called, regardless.
But there will be signs for you to follow from the border, and then there's going to be a big building, and they actually make it pretty easy. There's they have a big number 1 where you do your personal visa, big number 2 where you get the copies that you need, and then so on and so on until all the steps are done. If you are bringing a vehicle into Mexico, you're going to be driving in Mexico. That could seem really intimidating, but we're just going to break it down for you.
The roads today in Mexico in 2021 are actually pretty damn great. So you've got 2 different main kinds of roads. You've got Cuota, which is the toll roads, and you've got Libre, which is the free roads, right? We almost always drive Cuota when there's an opportunity, especially if we're going long distances. So when we're commuting down to Mexico City, we're staying on the toll roads. Make sure you have cash available, because they will turn your ass around. You're gonna be stuck at that quota, and they usually cannot take card. But these roads are super, super nice. They are as nice as US toll roads for sure.
Even the Libres though, even the free roads are really not that bad. I mean, I'm sure it depends on which state you're in and which area you're in. But on our drive from Texas to Mexico City, we did hit a few Libres when there weren't quotas available, and not a problem.
You will be driving on Libres.
Yeah.
There's no option around it. But if you have the option to do a toll road, we recommend the toll road.
The fuel in Mexico is just a little bit lesser quality, lower quality than what we have in the US. If you have a diesel vehicle, we did when we had our Sprinter down here, you can get this little additive that you put in every third time you fill up or something like that. That just makes it a little bit easier on your engine. If you have a gas vehicle like we do this time, there's a few different, just like the US, you have different grades of fuel. So we've just been getting like the premium grade here.
Another big one to talk about is really honestly cops. And I'm gonna touch on cartels. Now I put that in quotes because I'm not saying cartels aren't here, of course they are. And I'm not saying that like there isn't a danger to them, of course there is. However, as white American tourists, I'm being very specific, our experience is that we have never had a danger with cartels, and I'm pretty sure we never will. Because if you think about this logically, they're trying to run a business, and say a couple of white American tourists like us go missing with our privileged asses, the news and the cops in the United States are going to be quite pissed about it. That's not going to be very good for business. If you go to certain places, you know what you're getting yourself into. Just like if you go to certain areas in any city in the United States, you know what you're getting yourself into. But there's nothing that you need to be afraid of. Cops, however, while you don't need to be afraid of them, you probably will be interacting with them, and there's a couple of good things to keep in mind. The cops down here often, instead of giving you a ticket, will pull one of these like, hey, maybe you were speeding, and instead of giving you a ticket, maybe we can just work something out. So again, there's not going to be danger in those interactions, but they probably will be asking for money. What I have found is that often there will be an actual infraction committed, but then because you're a tourist, they're going to try to rip you off for 100 times what the actual cost of infraction is. An example of this, we were traveling with a couple other friends of ours in the Yucatan, and they had their dog with them in the car, but the dog wasn't in a crate. So we get stopped by cops at a checkpoint, and they say, hey, your dog's not in a crate. Okay, sorry about that, we'll go get a crate. And they're like, well, that's a $200 fine.
It's not.
Obviously, that is, if it is even a rule break, which maybe it's a rule break, it's clearly not a $200 fine. And I find this is usually how things go with cops. They'll find something that maybe is wrong. The amount that they'll say is $200. And then you say, well, I don't have $200. And they'll say, well, how about $100? You say, well, I don't have $100. They'll say, well, how about $20? What do you have, right? So when they start doing that, you kind of know you're up to some funny business. Always start by giving them the copies that you have made. Sometimes they're going to ask for your originals, especially if you've actually done something wrong. But a lot of the times, they'll take your copies, because if they get your original documents, now they've got the bargaining power. And they can say, hey, unless you pay, we're not going to give you your documents back. And I don't say this, you shouldn't be scared of these interactions. You're not in any danger at all. The worst danger you're in is, you get ripped off at 20 or 40 bucks. So big deal. In the United States, you're a lot more likely to get a $200 ticket. But if you're a tourist, play the apologetic dumb tourist, because you are an apologetic dumb tourist. I'm sorry, I didn't know that rule. I won't do it again. I don't understand what you're saying. Dumb your Spanish down a little bit if you do speak Spanish. Sort of like you're in no rush and they're in a rush. So as long as you're patient, respectful, and apologetic dumb tourist, we have never one single time paid a single peso to any cop for any reason.
The other big barrier that a lot of people feel to traveling in Mexico is there's a language barrier, obviously. We don't speak great Spanish. We speak good enough Spanish to get around in restaurants, borders, basically like the places that we're forced to interact with people, right? I can't yet make a friend in Spanish. I hope to one day.
Yes,
but we can usually do some transactional business. I think it's a really, really good idea for Americans to be learning Spanish, because Spanish is obviously like the top spoken language other than English in the United States. And for us, especially living in Texas, there's a lot of areas of Texas where you kind of need Spanish to get around. So I think it's a good idea anyways to learn some Spanish. The sad thing is a lot of us have taken Spanish 1 and 2 in high school or whatever, and we just have like such a poor language teaching structure in the United States. So I'm gonna give you a tip. We don't speak good Spanish, like I said, but we have one YouTube channel that actually made a difference and gave us some like real tools. It is called Language Transfer, and we'll put it in the description box below. Basically what it does is it helps you transfer words. It gives you rules basically to transfer English words that we all know to Spanish words. So it opens up basically a third of the English language. You can transfer this into Spanish. And one thing about Mexico is if you are trying to speak some Spanish, nobody's gonna laugh at you.
Right.
Nobody's gonna make fun of you.
Right.
Everybody's gonna be super, super pleased that you are trying to speak Spanish. And like we said, we don't speak very good Spanish, but even here in central Mexico, where most of the people our age speak some English, and you know, the last time we were here, a lot of people just like very quickly changed to English because, you know, it was obvious that we literally could not communicate at all. We know a little bit of Spanish now, and you know, people really appreciate that, even if they speak better English than you.
And the final tip to put in your tip tool belt to make sure that you have a wonderful first drive into Mexico is protecting your health. If you don't do this, you, like we did, will get the infamous Montezuma's revenge. And let me tell you, you do not want Montezuma's revenge.
Yeesh.
The revenge is fierce.
Yeah. You okay?
I feel like I'm gonna throw up.
Oh no.
What do I throw up?
Just don't throw up.
Just don't throw up. That's
Just don't. That's what I did yesterday. I just told myself over and over, don't throw up, don't throw up. And it worked. But
Interesting solution.
just in case, I'm gonna give you this. There you go.
The nice thing is, though, it's fairly easy to avoid this. You just need to be conscious about eating and drinking. The water here is not safe to drink for anybody. So even the locals typically are drinking all of their water out of 20-liter or 5-gallon big water jugs. So that's what we always do. You can also get this in smaller amounts, but you want to drink bottled, purified water for sure. There is no if, and, or but. Don't even try boiling your water. Trust us. Do not learn this lesson the hard way.
A lot of times, like street fruit, like street food fruit, is also a little bit dangerous. And even if you're gonna go to a grocery store and buy some fruit and vegetables, definitely wanna wash it.
God forbid, if you happen to have the revenge come upon you. Mexico actually has amazing, easy to access, safe, affordable clinics where you can just go right in, have a wait time way less than the United States, go right back, get it, you know, get whatever you have going on prescribed quickly. There's enough dumb tourists coming in here that there's a constant stream, no matter where you are, of sick to your stomach tourists.
Exactly, and you can usually find clinics where the doctors will speak English and you'll be able to easily communicate with them.
Boom, bap.
It's all of our big brain knowledge about Mexico.
Right, most of it earned the hard way. Whether that's driving straight through a border, whether it's getting the worst stomach ache of our life, whatever it happens to be, don't learn these lessons the hard way, guys. But we so encourage you to not only visit Mexico, drive to Mexico, especially if you live in the southern half of the United States, because Mexico is, there's no other country in the world that's like it. And it's in your backyard. There's a beautiful people, beautiful culture right here waiting for you. And on top of all of that, all of us are incredibly lucky as Americans that our dollar goes ridiculously far. So you can have a vacation that your bang for your buck will be double or triple what it would be going somewhere in the United States. It's gonna be a totally unique experience. Don't be intimidated by some of these barriers because they are very easy to overcome. And the Mexican people are some of the most beautiful, lovely people in the entire world, are some of the most generous, inviting, hospitable people in the entire world. They will welcome you in, they will help you if you have trouble, and there's really nothing to be afraid of, truly.
Yeah. I hope you guys enjoy your road tripping to Mexico. Let us know if you are planning any cool trips to Mexico.
Happy travels, we love you, and we'll see you soon.